Well, the battle against COVID has taken a nasty political turn in Florida. Surgeon General Joseph Ladapo says the Biden administration is, quote, actively preventing monoclonal antibody treatments. Joining us now to discuss is President of Citizens United, Dave Bossie, and Paige Willey, former White House political affairs advisor. Good to see you both. So, David, first of all, this totally, if true, this totally contradicts what the president said the other day about focusing on states leading the charge against the pandemic, having the federal government lean back. But I want to get straight ahead to intention here. Is this political payback for Governor DeSantis avoiding the president's vaccine mandates and other mandates from the federal government?
Well, it certainly looks like that. Governor DeSantis has been a national leader in his state of Florida, making sure that he pushes back against the Biden overreach at every turn and standing up for the freedom that his Floridians enjoy. So I got to tell you, the incompetency of the Biden administration, where we see Joe Biden say it's not the federal it's not the federal government's job, it's the state's job, as you said, is outrageous, because look at what they've done over the last year of bringing it all in, doing exactly the opposite of what President Trump did for the first year of this pandemic.
And Paige, if this is vindictiveness, this is horrible, using the pandemic for political payback. But you think of what President Trump did when blue states got in trouble. He jumped in with both hands. I think of what happened in New York when he sent the hospital ship here. He set up all these tent cities, hospitals in Central Park and in the Javits Center. He did the same to states, blue states, by the way, on the West Coast. This goes in exactly the opposite direction. Plus, you think of the management of an operation like Warp Speed. This administration still can't. We now have two pharmaceutical companies, both Pfizer and Merck, with these pills that you can take if you get sick. I don't see them available at all. There's no real serious effort to get them out there.
David, that's exactly right. And this is, in my mind, the central story of the Biden administration's failure to control this pandemic. Day one, they should have launched an aggressive federal campaign to surge production of these treatments, to get them distributed across to states, and to educate the public, to educate patients, doctors, and the media on the promise of these treatments, their known effectiveness. And here we are, 400,000 deaths later, that many of which would have been preventable with this treatment. And the Biden administration will not commit to a meaningful strategy on getting this life-saving treatment out to the American people. In fact, we're now hearing from Florida and even from Texas and other places that they may be obstructing Americans' access to this treatment. And additionally, as you pointed out, President Trump doubled down on this strategy to contain the pandemic and to save lives. In March of 2020, he held a press conference and announced this significant investment in life-saving treatments. And that was just 1 week after Nancy Pelosi was telling people, don't be afraid, you can go to big public events, you can dance around in Chinatown. And this is a tremendous leadership failure.
Unbelievable. David, again, the management success of Warp Speed was just extraordinary. And the way that the Trump administration did it primarily was by streamlining the regulatory process, allowing the wonderful inventiveness of our private companies to get in there and come up with solutions. This administration is going exactly the opposite direction. They're increasing the red tape all over the place, making it much more difficult for any company to get through, let alone a pharma company.
Yeah, David, President Trump created not one, but 3 vaccines in under a year when no one said it could be done. President Trump handed off a distribution and delivery system to the Biden administration that they have destroyed. Everything they touch in the last year, the economy, the crime problem, the border problem. We have problems at every turn, and the Biden administration has caused them. They aren't trying to solve these problems. They still have Trump derangement syndrome. They hate everything he did, and they have taken the last year to undo them, and now it's coming home to roost.
Yeah, Paige, I don't want to leave out a lot of the Democrats outside of the Biden administration. Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, the governor there, who's had a lot of lockdowns. She's had a lot of her own mandates. She, of course, applauds the president's vaccine mandate. Apparently now there aren't enough school teachers in Michigan because of these mandates, because a lot of school teachers have had, they have natural immunity. They don't think they need a vaccine for whatever reason. Now they're allowing bus drivers and cafeteria workers to go into the schools. You can't make this stuff up. I mean, it's like that's their solution to a labor shortage in the schools, to not having enough teachers?
That's right. And exactly, that's not a meaningful solution to a shortage of teachers, whatever the cause, which it does not seem that she's been particularly transparent with the people of Michigan about the source of this or how to solve it in any meaningful way. But displacing workers from other professions and asking them to teach school children is also not a solution. And in the state of Michigan, you've got only a quarter of their students in 12th grade who are proficient in math and only a third proficient in reading. And I think that they're going to have some infuriated Michigan parents who are wondering why their children are receiving such a poor education and they're not receiving the services they're entitled to from their government. They pay for this.
David, I have a friend who's a junior high school teacher in East Orange, New Jersey. It's a tough neighborhood. They always have a tough time graduating a full class. But in fact, he says now about 90% of the kids would fail basic examinations in English and math and everything. But he's told by his administrators, by his superiors, that he has to pass these people. He can't fail them. I mean, there is this widespread effect to try to support what we have, the failure of a public school system. That's becoming a big political issue, is it not?
It really is, David. And as somebody who has 4 children in school, it is devastating to what's happened to these kids. They have, over the last 2 years, their educations have been adversely affected. Their socialization has been affected. Every aspect of their young lives has been affected in the worst possible way. And I got to tell you what I call putting a bus driver or a cafeteria worker in charge of a classroom. That's called a babysitter, not a teacher.
That's right.
Okay? The kids are not going to get an education. They're going to be kept in a room, and instead of sending them home, okay, instead of having at-home learning, which is what the teachers union, Randy Weingarten and the powerful teachers union wants, is to send them all back home so that they can just teach them from home. That would solve the problem. Yeah. And Gretchen Whitmer's part of the problem. She has destroyed the economy in Michigan. She has done everything opposite of what should be done. She should stop doing that and get out of the way.
Well, Paige, because of these problems locally in cities and states that are run by Democrats, you have this huge mass migration to places like Florida and Texas. I can't imagine that slowing up. In fact, it looks like they're trying to speed this process up.
Yes, in fact, well, I hope this, when people in blue states are victims of this type of dysfunction foisted upon them by their leaders, I hope they develop a greater appreciation for the voters in red states who demand better of their leaders, who demand more functional societies and economies, and they develop an appreciation for that because there are people in this country who know they deserve better and they demand it from their politicians.
We do deserve better. America is a great country, and we should continue that greatness, not get rid of it. Paige Willie, David Bossie, good to see you both. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful
Thanks,
new
David.
year.